Bird, y'all need to come and get these damn scooters. This is gonna get run over by somebody's truck. And that one's gonna end up in North Island Avenue if you don't come get it.
Are smuggling drugs into the United States. Let's now bring in our international correspondent, Arian Pazdar, who's standing by live in Latin America. Arian, where do things stand? Are the two sides even talking about peace, or is the situation only getting worse?
Hey Chris, good to see you. Thank you for having me. A great question. Are they even talking about peace? First of all, let me give our viewers the latest on this whole situation. So just on Thursday, the US military once again struck a Venezuelan submarine smuggling illegal narcotics from Venezuela to the United States. Now this was the sixth such attack on Venezuelan drug vessels since September, bringing the total death toll to 28. But now, Chris, for the first time, there are reports of survivors who are now in U.S. custody. But the State Department, when asked about these reports, didn't confirm that there were any survivors and if they are in U.S. custody or not. But now, Chris, these tensions between the U.S. and Venezuela didn't just start under President Trump. As a matter of fact, the U.S. already had a bounty on Venezuelan socialist leader Nicolas Maduro for being a transnational drug trafficker. On top of that, the Biden administration last year came to the conclusion that Nicolas Maduro, the socialist leader, cheated in the presidential elections. So the US doesn't actually recognize him as the president of the country. Now, to get to your questions about peace, there are now reports saying that Maduro is offering Trump all of Venezuela's natural resources in exchange for peace. Let's now listen to Trump when responding to those reports when asked on Friday, and then we will also hear from the White House press secretary. Let's take a look.
He has offered everything. He's offered everything. You're right. You know why? Because he doesn't want to around with the United States.
Does President Trump believe his days are numbered there?
I think President Trump believes that Nicolas Maduro is an illegitimate president leading an illegitimate regime that has been trafficking drugs to the United States of America for far too long, and we're not going to tolerate it.
So, Chris, both of those statements were made just a few days ago. So, to answer your initial question about peace, the reports say that Venezuela is seeking peace, but as of right now, we don't see any signs of that just yet, Chris.
Right, Arian. Now, in a separate development, Venezuela's opposition leader was recently awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. What is she saying about this whole situation?
Yeah, that's right, Chris. Venezuela's opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado, was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. You know, I see many people saying that Trump should have won the prize, but look, the nominations for the prize are being given out in January. This happened just days after President Trump returned to office, so he couldn't possibly win the prize. But I will say this: it doesn't make much sense for the organization to hand out the nominations in January and then award the prize in October. So this means the person winning it in October is actually winning it for something they did a whole year earlier in 2024. But Maria Corina Machado, she does basically agree with the Trump administration. Just on Friday, she also talked, just like the Trump administration did, she also talked about the crimes Maduro is committing. Let's take a look.
Nicolas Maduro's government is a criminal organization. It is sustained by the inflow of illegal streams, from drug trafficking, from blood gold, from the smuggling of human beings, and the smuggling of weapons. And those flows must be cut off. That is the priority.
Now, Chris, lastly, I do still think there is hope for peace, because if Maduro really made these offers to President Trump to give the U.S. all of Venezuela's natural resources, I really do think that Trump, being the businessman he is, I do think that he will eventually accept such an offer. Chris?
All right, Arian Pazdar, thank you for that report. Coming up, how the U.S. military rescued the two after striking their submarine, which was suspected of trafficking drugs. Here's more.
U.S. President Donald Trump says the survivors of a strike in the Caribbean will be sent back to their home countries. Trump posted this video on Saturday, which seems to show a vessel being struck in the water. The U.S. military says it staged a rescue of the two survivors after striking their semi-submersible vessel on Thursday. It was suspected of trafficking illegal narcotics. Reuters first reported on the move to return them to Colombia and to Ecuador, which experts say would mean the military wouldn't have to deal with a tricky legal situation. Military detention of alleged drug traffickers whose suspected crimes do not fall cleanly under the laws of war. Trump had mentioned the strike to reporters on Friday.
I don't know too many people that have submarines, and that was an attack on a drug-carrying, loaded-up submarine.
In a Saturday post, Trump claimed that U.S. intelligence had confirmed the drugs, but did not provide evidence. Colombia's president's office, Ecuador's communications office, and the foreign ministries of both countries did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Thursday marked the sixth recent strike of a suspected drug vessel by the United States in the Caribbean amid a wider military buildup in the area, an escalation in Trump's standoff with the government of Venezuela.
Their children. I still wish my son was here. He promised me he'd never leave me.
And some are turning sorrow into action. Jacob Tao's 3-year-old son, Leo, died last year after being exposed to fentanyl while in his mother's care. He's now pushing for more guardrails to keep children safe, starting in his home state of Oklahoma, with hopes of turning the effort into a federal law named after little Leo.
I started working on a petition called Leo's Law that would actually require DHS to be testing parents for fentanyl if it's involved or suspected in a case. It could have saved Leo's life, and it could save hundreds to thousands of other children in America.
Today, most of the world's fentanyl precursors are manufactured in China. The deadly narcotic has led to a nationwide epidemic responsible for the death of hundreds of thousands of Americans. According to an investigation by the House-led Committee on the Chinese Communist Party, fentanyl manufacturing is an industry directly subsidized by the communist regime.
The China Select Committee, Democrat, Republicans alike, announced to the world that China was deliberately poisoning us. We are the targeted nation, America. They wanted to stabilize our country. Are we going to have a military in another 10 years going at this rate?
Tackling the fentanyl epidemic has long been on the radar of the Trump administration, from striking drug boats off the coast of Venezuela to designating cartels as foreign terrorist organizations.
So when people in this world start talking about why are we going after these drug boats? Why are we bombing and using kinetic strikes? Because look at these babies we've never had in the history of this country. Babies dying. This is what it's about. So the people that have a problem with the aggressiveness of President Trump and his administration, why don't you pay attention to what's going on? We're losing a generation.
Sam Wong, NTD News, Washington, D.C. It's been a busy...
The arrests include murderers, thieves, rapists, drug traffickers, child sex predators, and members of violent transnational criminal gangs. So ICE's message is that they want to hold these people accountable, people that break the law. Chris?
Right, and the FBI has been saying they will not let the immigration system be exploited. Federal agents also came across numerous challenges as well. What can you tell us about that, David?
Right, yeah, this past week there were a lot of arrests as well as challenges. So, for example, the hacker group known as the COM, they apparently have doxed many federal agents, and this is according to 404 Media. They're saying that the personal information of hundreds of federal law enforcement officials was posted, was released, and this includes data on people working for the Department of Homeland Security and ICE. So to give some numbers on that, that's the information of 700 Homeland Security employees and around 200 DOJ officials and the emails of 170 FBI employees. And the hackers apparently used Telegram and said that they're trying to cash in on the bounties placed on ICE. So this is referring to what Homeland Security says, that Mexican cartels have been involved, telling people that they would offer bounties or rewards of up to thousands of dollars, up to $50,000 for things such as finding information on these agents, kidnapping them, monitoring them, and even calling on assassination of officials, unfortunately. So that's what Homeland Security mentioned this week. And this all comes as immigration raids. Those that are against the raids say that communities and family members that have been negatively impacted when the family member gets arrested because of these immigration raids. Chris?
Definitely a high-pressure environment for these ICE agents. Has the government backed down as a result of these recent events?
That's a good question. They are not backing down. If anything, they're continuing to do their immigration enforcement. So Homeland Security said that in response to the threats and these recent events, they've been getting, the agents have been getting, facing ambushes and such nature. So they're saying that they're not going to back down, and that, quote, if you threaten or lay hands on our law enforcement officers, we will hunt you down and you will find out really quick. So that's their message. And to go along with that, as far as employment, on Wednesday, there was word that 175,000 Americans have applied to join ICE. Chris, back to you.
All right, David Lamb, thank you. Coming up,
targeting the influence of the Chinese Communist Party, particularly applications and software associated with artificial intelligence. Talk to us about what you noticed and why this is such an important issue.
Well, what happened was it came to my attention that some of the college administrators and professors and then students were utilizing DeepSeek on the university equipment. And I was like, we can't have that. Not only because DeepSeek is a tool of the Communist Chinese Party, it's also AI really in a learning environment, I believe, has to have some restrictions, there has to be some guardrails in place. There's this big hype about AI, and it's a great tool, but it's only as good as what you put in is what you're going to get out. And so we put out an executive order that really kind of wrapped all of those things up into one.
Talk to us about how the executive order would actually protect the students and universities, and could a policy like this potentially, or should it be implemented nationwide?
Well, it should. Certainly, I don't think any American citizen should be using DeepSeek. That's number one. Because if they knew, because again, everything you do on DeepSeek is going to the Chinese government. And that means they get to build a bigger, better profile on you. That's the danger of using AI. You really have to understand what product you're using, because everything you put in is being kept as you. Because again, you go on and on and on with it, asking them different questions about different things. And so again, it prohibits that, but it goes further in forcing the universities to build guardrails about the use of AI in the educational institutions. We want to make sure that that data is sanitized, that we understand what's being placed in the AI systems so that we're getting the best results coming out of the system.
I want to pivot, if I could, and ask you about crime. You have asked for the National Guard, 1,000 troops, to come to your state of Louisiana. Talk to us about why this is important. There's a big discussion and debate, particularly in blue states, pushing back on this, saying that it's unconstitutional, and they just don't want any part of it.
Well, I don't understand what the big fuss is all about. This is all about public safety, and every American citizen deserves public safety. You certainly shouldn't get a greater amount of safety if you're a Democrat or a Republican. You should get the best safety out there if you're an American citizen in our nation. Look, I saw the value of utilizing the National Guard after the terrorist attack on Bourbon Street on January 1. I brought in 200 National Guardsmen to help us secure one of the largest crime scenes in the country at that time. The city of New Orleans, as is many other major cities, have been under federal consent decrees that were put in place under the Obama administration when Eric Holder was the Attorney General. Those consent decrees basically place the police departments under federal control. The effect of that in New Orleans was 700 New Orleans police officers short. That means we don't have the manpower in that city. Before President Trump came in, we brought in the Louisiana State Police to try to get control of that city. We had some real good impact and effect. Having the president come in and help us bring in federal resources only will further enhance what we're already doing and make the city even safer.
To your point, we've seen a federal judge block the National Guard from entering the state of Illinois. Meantime, in front of federal facilities, the ICE detention facility, you have Illinois State Police filling in that role. And clearly you can see it's depleting the police force. It's really weighing on them and preventing them from preventing other crimes and patrolling that they would be doing otherwise.
Well, the question is for those elected officials in blue states, like the governor of Illinois, it's like, whose side are you on? The criminals? Or
Yeah,
the
for
citizens
real.
who want safety? You evidently were not doing a good job before the president wanted to deploy the National Guard, right? So why don't you take some help and allow those boots on the ground? But if you don't want it, we'll take it. I will do
He's
and
in
go
the
to any measure
criminal's
necessary
pocket.
in order to keep the citizens of Louisiana safe and to get control of our major cities.
On that topic, if you could, talk to us about what we're hearing in the news, particularly today. I heard it's trending, the Louisiana lockup facility.
Oh, yes, we got a great one. Yeah. So, I got to tell you again, President Trump's selection of his cabinet, he never ceases to amaze me how brilliant the man is. He's got a great bunch of cabinet secretaries who just go out there and get it done. And of course, Secretary Noem and I served in Congress together. We served as governors together. I saw an opportunity under which we could take a decrepit portion of Angola, which Angola is in Louisiana. It is the largest maximum security prison in the United States. And we had a portion of it that was decrepit, an old facility that we could refurbish. And our idea was to offer to ICE, offer to the Department of Homeland Security, a place to bring the worst of the worst illegals as they were getting ready for deportation or as they were serving out sentences. Why? Because if you leave them scattered throughout the country, they continue their criminal enterprise. I know, I worked in a jail, right? The idea is if you bring them all, especially TDA, MS-13, and notorious gangs, if you put them all in one confined place where they can't get out and they can't communicate outside, you actually make the nation safer. And so we came to an agreement with ICE. We put together, we revamped this facility. Love for you to come and take a look at it. It is called the Louisiana Lockup. It's on 18,000 acres. It's surrounded by swamps and woods, swamps with alligators and woods with bears, and nobody wants to get out of there.
Lastly, talk to us about how state and local law enforcement can work with federal officials, and do you think that Louisiana will be a model in attacking this illegal immigration issue?
Oh, yeah. Well, look, we've signed every MOU or intergovernmental agreement that we could with the Department of Homeland Security. Because, look, you got to remember, think about the tens of millions of criminals that have been sent into the United States that poured over a very porous border, coming into this country with all kind of poisons and nefarious activities, human traffickings and whatever. We've got to clean that up. And the more we clean that up, you're going to see crime decline.
Lastly, I know I said that last time, but you were the former Attorney General before becoming governor. There's a lot of talk on the other side, Democrats saying that these illegal immigrants aren't getting due process. You understand the law better than most. Is there due process?
Yes, there's a whole process on how you process an illegal, on someone who comes into this country, okay, illegally. That's the most important part. These people came into the country illegally. That means they broke the law. That's pretty common sense, very plain speak. I tell you what, there's way more due process in the United States than there is in any other country. Anyone who says that, I challenge them to go try to illegally enter another country. Like, try to go illegally enter Mexico and see what kind of due process you get. You end up in jail with not even being able to make a phone call.
Governor Jeff Landry, really appreciate your insights.
Thank you.